Hello, friends. As you can see, I have the very first stages of my Salvador Dali mustache going. Just these two little patches that are going to grow along or further out. Really excited about that. Um, I have a video which consists of two pretty detailed diagrams. Um, it's pretty much a before and after, how it is now and how it'll be when I'm done with it. Um, what else was I just about to say? I was just gonna tell you what happened with this before. I did try to make this part of the video before, and then the whole file was corrupt at the end, and it seemed like God didn't want me to put it out, and I eventually realized it was probably because there were some errors in it. So I kind of redid them and tried to really do my best and get it down with as much accuracy and detail as I could. Um, so hopefully this will pass snuff. Um, so without further ado, um, there's this, um, and I'll do my best to show it all in the screen. Um, that's pretty good. Okay, so you can see up here it says, "The world as it is now, whole and well." Um, the whole and well is an important part of this. I came to a sort of eye-opening realization a couple of weeks ago that there actually isn't anything wrong with the universe. It's all um, exactly perfect and operating according to plan. And uh, the things that I want to do to change it are not, um, in some objective, basic sense of truth. Um, there's no need for any change to make the universe better or more perfect. Um, Now, it's really hard for me to live from an awareness of that. Um, I guess you could say I got that awareness, that understanding, and kind of just let it pass me by to a certain degree because the truth of the matter is I kind of have to believe that there's a reason that I want to change the universe, or I don't have a mission anymore, and that's kind of the one thing I got is that mission. So um, I'm trying to kind of bridge these two understandings between it being perfectly fine and it having the results of error and of a fall baked into it and needing to be um, recast. Yeah, that's the word. Okay, so um, I'm not sure where to even start here. Um, I guess I'll say this whole view, this part of, this diagram is of a certain part of my broader um, models of the pattern. Um, the the ring-like thing, the washer-shaped thing, is the Leviathan, and in this instance, it is standing in for the entire material world. And the way I usually picture it is, well, it's at the end of Forna's time. So, but I usually kind of just picture it like floating at the bottom of the pattern when I draw out the pattern, you know, 2ness, 3ness, 4ness, 5ness, 6ness, etc. It kind of goes at the bottom, and it is part of the cycle called 777, which I've defined in another video. So I'm gonna try to not rehash that now, but I'll put a link in the description about that. But so really, this, in a way, in an odd way, this diagram stands alone. You could say that every separate point of reality, of our reality, has this structure in it of the ring going around this clear sort of fiber optic-y filament. So yeah, so this, the things coming in on the right here would be things that come from the part of 777 that's outbound, that's going from a higher level to a lower level, and kind of percolating down from higher levels to lower levels of organization until you just have rays left. And so the stuff coming in on that side comes from that. And then if you follow this clear filament here up and off the page, it will go to the heart of sevenness, which is heaven. And in this, oh shit, I started explaining the wrong diagram for a second. Never mind what I just said about it. It doesn't go to sevenness, it comes from sevenness, in the state of how it is now. So that's God in heaven, giving us grace, basically. Piping down an infinite, joyous, enlivening flow of Christ's light through this clear, open filament, and from that divine origin, it passes through the Leviathan, and then this is not being picked up that great. Okay, there we go. And then you see it goes to the hearts of all beings. So that is, in this particular diagram, 777, as I mapped it out, actually is being run in reverse. So this but going straight to the hearts of all beings is actually not part of 777. This is like an additional thing that I just figured out for this particular model, that it requires that additional kind of output. So the Leviathan, the ring in the center, has a Christ charge, and it's very full of good and evil charges. Good and evil being blue and green, respectively, and it's also suffused almost to bursting point with red charges, which are um, error charges, which also get used as power. More on that in a moment. But there's so many red charges, and they're so dense that they create a lot of shadowy areas within the Leviathan, um, behind which or in which darkness can, I guess, congregate. And darkness is rather similar to light in the sense that all it is like an abstract um, structure waveform that's kind of recursive and repetitive, and doesn't require a medium to move. And so, yeah, even though this is an image of a perfect universe, there is that darkness there. That's simply the truth. I can't say. I have to, call it like I see it, and not try to say because it's all well and good there can be no, um, you know, bad or evil or downsides. So, um, okay, so that's all about the um, Leviathan in the middle. Um, Coming in on the left side, there is mediumless Christ light shining from source, source being like God, basically. Um, and this specifically is four-ary or quaternary Christ light. So that means Christ light with that fills four-dimensional space in my reckoning of dimensions, which is three-dimensional in the common way of saying it. Um, so it's light of just the same um, dimensionality as the space that it's striking against, that it's shining on, I should say. Um, so that means that it only um, covers or penetrates what it strikes right there on the outside. So it's coming on one side of the ring, so it's covering the entire one surface of the ring, um, and it can move around. It can shine through and move inside of the ring as well, but um, with all of the reds in the way, the light gets filtered out a lot. It's not like 100% penetration, um, or um, I want to say throughput, but that's not really the right word. Um, but you get what I'm saying. It's a limited, um, although still totally serviceable and um, totally able to be seen as perfect and how it ought to be, um, which I'm kind of just saying as words. I mean, the truth is, don't think it's how it ought to be, and I'm kind of have a stake in believing that. So, but I'm obligated to tell the truth as I see it, and the truth is, it is perfect and whole and well, even though my plans seem to suppose or require the supposition of the opposite. Okay, so almost done with this one, and then on to the second one. So in here, over here, we have some ingoing flows or currents and some outgoing ones. I already talked about the outgoing clear filament, the signal carrying filament that goes to the hearts of all beings, and well, in the whole pattern really. But so the two incoming flows are of darkness and of red charge, which, based on the direction it's flowing, I call red down. It's going from a higher place and falling down to I was just taking a moment to listen to that plane. So going well, in this case, it means falling down to the Leviathan from wherever it originated, whether it's in the minds of beings that committed errors and created the particles, or the sexualities. Sexuality runs on red charge, I've discovered. Or wherever it's coming from up in the pattern, it's falling down to the Leviathan, and that's why I call it red down. So darkness and red down, these are the two outputs of the botched 777 routine, the one that has produced the erroneous two-ness that I've observed. And the darkness in particular is just totally off base and undesirable. Undesirable. It doesn't serve any purpose. It doesn't add to anything, unless it were maybe, and this is going out on a limb, but it could be a psychological benefit to essentially obscure the view of all of the very numerous error residues present, just to not have to look at them. But really, it's darkness just makes everything scarier and makes it harder to do anything practical, getting anything done. So that's largely why I say that 777 is botched. That's one reason, one example. Okay, finally moving on. Sorry, this is already. Okay, the world as it should be when I'm done with it. So it looks pretty similar. Largely, what's happening, what's different is that um, the directions of the flows are many of them are reversed. So chiefly, the center filament, instead of coming from 7s, is going to 7s, carrying a signal in it that will essentially complete 7s and put it back into business. So this is the situation in which I'm saving the world, I guess you could say. Um, so starting with 777, because that is another big change. So I have here, there's no longer any darkness channel that was bogus and unnecessary. So it's not present when 777s run correctly. So there's still two output channels of 777 though, and in this case they are Christ light and red down. So the red down's the same, but yeah, the Christ light's being fed into this totally different type of filament made of green charges, and that is probably the coolest part of this one. Um, so so the green filament is created by my faculty of recursion. I'm responsible for making it, and uh, the way it's done is with sideways recursion, or what I've seen fit to call transcursion, which is recursion that's really more like iteration that doesn't uh, get bigger or smaller with the levels of recursion. So it's just straight sideways, so to speak. So each one of these is a green charge, which is one of the coolest, probably the coolest particle I have known of everything I've come across. And it's fitting that I would think that because it comes from me. Um, so what that does is transmit the signal that's coming via Christ light down here, but it's transmitting it in um, a matter or a substance having um, medium, and within that medium, the signal is dual between a waveform and uh, an electrical charge. So in matter, Christ's charge, as I've said before, is an electrical charge that attracts good and evil charges equally, and always binds to them together. So there's that reading of what's happening in each cell of green, but there's also the one in which the green is just an open filament like the other one was, like a fiber optic tube that's carrying a purely waveform signal. Okay, now you also still have light coming in from this side, but this time it's 5 area. It's 1 dimension higher. So what that means is that it actually can shine in every point throughout the thickness on both sides of that ring there, the Leviathan. And boy, I'm just skipping right through this. That's great. So I'll read this paragraph here about describing the Leviathan, and then I'll be done. Okay. Ultimate state. No Christ charge, no evil, green charge. Both of them having been all used up in the green tube made to carry the Christ signal all the way up to 7ness. Full of good charge, blue. Originally lots of places for darkness to hide behind reds. As they're used up, the darkness perishes in the light. The world that remains is of true dark, which depends upon a continuous flow of red particles to exist. The light penetrating it is there for the sake of visiting beings of the light, to make it safe for them. So, true dark is something that I made up that I'll explain, I guess, really cursorily. Essentially, it's just like dark, but it doesn't have danger and it doesn't have evil. It has the glamour, the kind of exciting allure, or even mesmerization of that darkness can have on people. But really interestingly, the fields of the charge that the field I'm sorry. Basically, so traditional darkness attracts light / good, attracts that charge of goodness and traps it. But this true dark doesn't do that because it actually, in equal measure, attracts and repels goodness. It doesn't. It attracts it and thereby provides that exciting allure, but it doesn't. But it also creates movement for it to keep on going. Like it's always possible for it to for the good charge, I'm saying, to break free and go out on its way. So that was really lame discussion, but yeah, I'm sorry working on a lack of sleep today, so we'll see if I even decide to post this. It'd be a shame to have to do it again, but I've been pretty low energy this whole video. Okay, well, we'll see. Thanks for whoever watched it. I love you.